Hello, 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 hello. It is I, the Wolfman. It is Tuesday, the 6th of December, 2022. It is 12:58 p.m. It is 12:59 p.m. I almost didn't record a video today. Why did I almost not record a video today? Because I started feeling like it was important to record a video. And as soon as creative shit gets important, you can forget about it. I'm not interested in doing anything important. I'm only interested in doing fun things, especially when it comes to creativity. But I don't know exactly why. Like less than a week ago, I had this inspiration to do a series of YouTube videos. And then somewhere along the way, it stopped being fun. And I was like, I've got to do these videos. I've decided I'm going to do these videos. And there's this list of topics and I've got to do it once a day. And it's very important that it works out to do it once a day. And it's like people, like in the movies, when they look down, when they're crossing the bridge, they're like, you were doing fine. And then you look down. And in the same way, like if I get an inspired idea or an idea that feels good, and then I start thinking it's important, it has the same exact effect. I go, oh my God, I don't want to do this. So I decided not to do it. And as soon as I decided not to do it, because I'm a crazy person and this is the way my brain works, as soon as I decided not to do it, I started having all these fun ideas about what to do and how much fun it would be to actually do it. As soon as I gave myself permission to not do it. So, and it's not important. These videos aren't important at all. Whoops, missed my turn. Okay. Yep. Be all right. Come around here, turn out the other way. Okay. So, what was I talking about? Oh, so the topic of today's video is sanity. You may have heard of Sanity. Personally, I don't believe in it. Good talk. And with this, I'll close. No such thing as sanity. So what is sanity? Sanity is this concept. There's this idea that there's a right way to think. And it's bullshit, as far as I'm concerned. So there's all of these disorders, according to modern psychiatry, and there's attention deficit disorder, or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or there's, autism, ASD, which I'm pretty sure the D in autism is for disorder. And then there's operational defiant disorder. That one pisses me off the most because they've been trying to slap kids with that. I don't know, it might have gone away. I can't remember. But for a minute, ODD, you down with ODD? Yeah, you know me. For a minute, ODD was considered to be a real thing. And so basically, if you look up the symptoms of operational defiant disorder, it means that the kid wants to do what they want and they don't want to do what you want. So what you're telling me is this kid is a born leader, right? They're stubborn. They've got an idea about what they want and they're trying to go after it. And so you're going to label them operational defiant disorder and you're going to take away their gun rights in the future. Potentially, they might even, you never know how things are going to go. You never know how things are going to go. You can still throw somebody in an institute, a mental institute, against their will in this country. Which I can sort of understand the thinking behind. Okay, well, this person is causing a problem, and so we're going to put them in a hospital so that they can get better and function in society. And if that were what was really going on every time, it would be great. But the fact of the matter is, not all of these institutes are great. And so if you don't have, and sometimes it's just a matter of being over capacity. Like, I could help one person, generally speaking. Like, if one person needs a little bit of help, I can help them. But if it's like, a schizophrenic, I don't have the ability to help a schizophrenic person. it's just too much for me. And so, like, somebody that's just got normal trauma or whatever, I could help them. You give me 2 or 3 of those, I can't do it. And, you know, of course, I'm not a medical or a mental health professional, but, like, I'm still a human. And the same thing applies. So if your facility is good enough to take care of, like, people with X amount of mental injury and, you know, X amount of patients, then great. But, you know, you start throwing extra patients in there, then people aren't getting the help that they need. And so the fact of the matter is people get Baker acted, and then they end up sometimes in situations that are worse than the situation that they were in the first place, because you've taken away, it's like you want to help them, and in helping them you take away their ability to help themselves. Like, literally, you take away their pens, you take away their access to outdoors. Like, how are you going to have a mental health facility that doesn't have a fucking gym in it? How are these people supposed to work out? Like, you know the difference between how I feel on days that I work out and days that I don't work out? It's and I'm not that guy. I'm not telling, oh, you're depressed, you should try running. But there have been studies, man, and, like, if you can do it, if it works for you, not every solution works for everybody, but if it works for you, exercise is a great way to manage a lot of mental health symptoms. Depression and anxiety both seem to be regulated very well by exercise, you know, but mild to moderate. But depression and anxiety seem to be managed very well by exercise. And, like, find me a pill. Most pills, there are a few pills out there that are called mood stabilizers, and they actually do manage both depression and anxiety. But for the most part, you take an antidepressant and it doesn't help with your anxiety, unless your anxiety is not a ricochet, but a slingshot from the depression. You overcompensate, you get anxiety, which is a thing that happens. It's crazy how, like, mental health is mental health, but, like, you start getting a little bit wobbly, and that wobble has a tendency to create more instability. So when I say that there's no such thing as sanity, I am not by any means saying that there's no such thing as mental illness or mental injury. What I'm saying is nobody is sane. Like, everybody's got some kind of mental problem. And maybe that's just because the standard that I use for mental health is, like, complete clarity and understanding of the truth. And if you really think that you're doing everything right and you understand everything and you're not making any mental errors, I just don't know. I think you might be a little bit arrogant, and that's coming from me, and I'm pretty full of myself. So if you have a diagnosed mental illness, I'm not attacking you. I'm not saying that your mental illness isn't real. What I'm saying is all the people that are pretending like they're sane, their sanity isn't real. Okay? I'm also saying that you shouldn't have your freedom taken away from you. You should be helped. But, like, we should always understand that 2 things about taking somebody's freedom away from them. Number 1, it's a terrible thing to do. Okay? Even if it's not as terrible, like, if a person is, you know, dangerous and deluded, and they're seeing things that aren't real and believing things that aren't real and being a danger in society, and you have to lock them up, okay, fair enough. It was the right decision. Maybe in some cases, but that doesn't make it any less of a terrible thing to do. Sometimes doing a terrible thing to a person is the right decision, and so you don't get to write it off, and you don't go, oh, well, if I wouldn't have done this, something else would have been worse, therefore this wasn't a horrible thing to do. No, it's still horrible. It still sucks, you know, and it may be the right thing, but it still sucks that you had to do it. And then the second thing is that it's a great responsibility. If you've taken someone's freedom away from them for their own good, you're now responsible for their own good. Okay? Which, up to that moment, I'm responsible for how my life turns out. You're responsible for how your life turns out. Now, if somebody comes, abducts me off the street and throws me in a mental institute, I'm not fucking responsible for how my life turns out after that. Now it's on them. Honestly, and of course, I'm still going to, me personally, because I believe in freedom, and like, losing my freedom would be about the worst thing I could imagine. I am going to fight to regain control of my own life if that happens. And I'm going to do whatever I can to take the responsibility for my own life back and to make sure that my life turns out all right. But if I were to lock somebody up, which I can barely imagine a situation in which if I were given that choice, that's the choice I would make. It certainly wouldn't happen as often as it does now. If I were to make the decision to lock somebody up, I would then take on responsibility for that person. And if their life didn't turn out well, be like, yeah, that's my fault. So we're here to talk about sanity and how it's not real. And I will admit to you, the reason that I want to talk about sanity and how it's not real is because I've got some pretty fucking out there theories about reality. You may have heard some of them, and if you continue to watch my videos as they come out, you're gonna hear some more of them. And you think shit's crazy now. You wait. Take a ride behind my eyes and see what you find, and you'll see. I'm a madman. I'm an absolute madman. Now, being crazy, though, as I am, doesn't stop me from functioning well in life. In fact, I think that my madness is what's going to make me succeed. If there is a such thing as sanity, I think what most people think sanity is seeing the world the way that it is and being able to behave the way that you want to get what you want in the world. And I have a problem with that because A, we don't see the world the way that it is. At best, we see an accurate hallucination that depicts the real world. But like everything you see has been invented by your brain. The actual sensation of seeing real things is technically no different than a hallucination, except that we think it accurately depicts reality. Like your brain is quite literally hallucinating everything that you see. The only reason why we don't call it a hallucination is because you go up and you knock on it and you go, oh, no, I can verify that this is real with one of my other senses. Now, if you go to knock on it and your hand goes through it, you're like, oh, shit, well, that's just a visual hallucination. And so as long as all 5 of your senses are saying the same thing, you think it's real, but it's not. I mean, maybe it is, but it's not real just because all 5 of your senses say that it's real. So what? So A, we don't see things the way they really are. We see our brain generates an image of the world that works well enough for us to navigate through it. B, we don't really control completely what we think, feel, and do. Like, you have a lot of control, but don't tell me that you've never been so mad that you did something that felt like you were out of control. Don't tell me that you've never had somebody or something jump out and startle you and you've moved involuntarily. You don't have complete control. You have enough control that you generally considered the most responsible for your own life, in my opinion, more than anybody else. Because you're sitting in your own life all the time, and you have the ability to start to predict how things will go. And you can, if you pay attention and you're honest with yourself, you can aim your life in a certain direction, and maybe you'll get there. But like, free will is not total. It's not total, because what would total free will look like? Okay, I stand next to a 5-story building and I go, my will is to jump and land on top of that 5-story building. And I jump and I try. Am I going to land on top of a 5-story building? Not yet. I'm going to need to do a lot more squats before I can pull that off. So free will, even if you have total free will within your abilities, it's still within your own abilities. If you don't have the ability to do it, then you don't have the ability to do it. And there are things like intrusive thoughts and unwanted feelings. Like, these things come along. And I'm one of the biggest proponents of free will you'll ever find. But it is tempered with the fact that there are things that are outside of your control. And some of them that are outside of your control are inside of what is normally considered yourself. You have more control over your thoughts, feelings, and actions than anyone else does. And you can practice and get even more control than that. But you don't have complete control. If you're anything like me, you don't anyways. Maybe you do. But who am I to tell you what you have control over and what you don't? So there's number two. Number two reason is because you don't see everything accurate, number one. You don't have complete control over your actions, number two. And there's no guarantee that you'll succeed. So all these criteria for sanity are not really great, but we can sit there and we're like, well, I see things well enough, and I am in enough control, and I have a good enough chance of success that I'm going to consider myself sane. And I would say to that, okay, well, you're sane enough. You're sane enough. And that's just the way of the world. Enough is one of my favorite words, because nothing is all the way anything. And really, enough is what we're going for. We want things to be good enough. We want them to be interesting enough. We want you want to be sane enough. And so sanity, like total sanity, not a thing. Everybody loses their mind. In fact, I think it might be built in. I think it was Alan Watts, again, my favorite person to quote, said that you should spend, like, I'm going to paraphrase it actually, 1/7 of your life should be madness or you'll go insane. So basically, like, if you're completely reasonable all the time, then that's just too much rigidity in your mind, and your mind will snap. And so you gotta be a little bit crazy every once in a while just to let the fucking steam off. So total sanity, not a thing. Man, there's lane closures on the road, making this a little bit more difficult to do. Anyway, so yes, just like total health is not a thing. You've probably got, you could be healthier, you could be in better shape, you know, I mean, you might, and so the same with mental health. Like, you could be healthier, you could have more mastery over your mind, you could be saner. If you're sane enough, then great. I'm a crazy person, but I'm sane enough. But I embrace the madness that is within me, because honestly, reason is not a good enough tool to get you through life. Reason will not give you there's no such thing as a reason to live, as far as I'm concerned. There's a feeling, there's something that you'll want to live for because it feels good, not because it's reasonable. There's no reasonable thing that you should be doing with your life. There are unreasonable things that feel good. And when I say unreasonable in this context, I don't mean that they are anti-reasonable. I don't mean that they are against reason. I just mean that reason won't give you the answer. Reason will tell you how to do the things, not what things to do. That's my opinion. Other people disagree with it. They try to say that there's actually a fundamental reality and a fundamental one right way that you should live your life. I absolutely disagree. I think that there is a million ways that you can live. I don't think that there's anything that's better than anything else, really, except for the way it feels. Do I like it better? That's real. Do you like it better? That's real. And we're probably built with these emotional guidance systems so that we'll like the thing better that we're supposed to be doing. I mean, that's a loud Mustang. Yeah, so great, so wonderful. So you have to feel your way through life. Like, this feels good. You can't, this is the right thing to do because it's reasonable. You're fooling yourself. There's no reasonable thing to do to get your way through life. Once you've decided what to do based on what you want, well, then you can go, okay, so what's the most reasonable way to accomplish this? And then your reason can be a great tool to help you figure it out. But it's madness in the meantime. Madness in the meantime. That's a fun phrase. And the funny thing about madness is sometimes you can look at a thing and you can say, well, this is clearly madness because I know how logic and reason works, and this isn't that. But you can feel it, and it feels quite sane. And so basically, this is sort of like my first video was an introductory video in the way of getting truth out of the way, getting my commitment to truth out of the way, saying, hey, let's explore truth. Truth is my number one thing. We gotta. If you want to follow along with me, then we're both gonna have to agree that truth is the number one thing. And then this one is more an indulgence for myself because, Okay, so the first video, if I hadn't done that, then every time I started a video, I would have to go through and I would go, hey, number one commitment is to truth. Over and over again. I would have to start off every video with that, and I just didn't want to do it. I thought it would make more sense to take the time to do a full video about my commitment to truth, and that's the way that this video series is going to go. And so then in the same way, this time I realized that I'm afraid somewhat. I have somewhat of an anxiety or a fear or there's another word for it, but I can't remember it at the time. It's not trepidation. A concern, whatever, that you will hear what I'm saying and you will go, oh, well, he's a crazy person. And I had to deal with that on my own. I had to go, okay, well, maybe in order to explore some of these topics, I have to be willing to be insane, because a sane person wouldn't go down these roads mentally. And I trust myself. I trust the structural integrity of my brain. Maybe if your sanity is a little bit more touch and go, maybe you shouldn't follow along with some of these videos. But I trust myself to come back to enough sanity to function in life that I can go down these highways and byways of the mind, and I can go to crazy town and I can think about things. And so I just wanted to get that out of the way, because if not, I'll be sitting there and I'll be being like, listen, I know this might sound crazy, but, and then I'll be saying all my stuff like that. And I don't want to be apologetic. No, we're going to Crazy Town. You want to come with me for the next few videos, we're going to Crazy Town. And if you don't want to go to Crazy Town, then find something else to watch. Or don't, whatever, it's your decision, but you've been warned. And so I'm not going to sit here and apologize over and over again. So, yes, this video was a bit of an indulgence, so that for my next few videos, I don't have to just go, hey, this sounds crazy, but this is what I'm thinking. I can just explore territory, and I can be wrong, and I can be insane, and it won't hamper me worrying about whether or not this is right or whether or not it's sanity. It's where I'm going. I'm exploring the mental territory. I hope you'll come along with me. And as always, what do I know? I'm a trickster and a fool.